Hey guys, I'm doing 2 videos in 1 week. I can't believe it. But if you watched my last video while I was in Vietnam, I mentioned at the end of it that I'd show you what I did in terms of game hunting while I was there. Now, this isn't going to be as exciting as you might hope. Vietnam is really not the best place to look for video games. But while I was there, I thought I'd endeavor and try to find something at least, and just tell you guys about it because, I don't know, maybe you're interested in how game hunting is in other countries. So, last year when I was in Vietnam, we got to spend a little more time kind of looking around Ho Chi Minh City. And while I was there, we stopped by pretty much like the only real video game store that I could find, and it was called Halo. I think you can guess where they got that name from. And we went inside, and I thought it was cool that they actually had a game store there, because most people in Vietnam, I don't think, buy console games. I think probably what is going on more is they're just getting mobile games. Because while I was there, I saw everyone's got a cell phone, but I saw almost no, PlayStation 4s, or I didn't see one Xbox One while I was there that were being sold for people. There was one electronics store I saw. They had one PS4 there, but as you can imagine, getting a expensive console like that's kind of a luxury item in Vietnam. So I don't think people are into console gaming very much. But this one store, Halo, that we saw, it did have all the new PS4 games, and it had a bunch of kind of used PS3 games too, as I remember. This is last year I'm talking about still. And I looked at stuff there, but I honestly wasn't interested in buying anything. I think they did have they had some Japanese versions and some English versions, but actually it was the same price there for a new game. It was the equivalent of $60 US for the games they're selling there, and so I didn't see anything that was particularly exciting to buy there. I'd just buy a new PS4 game here if I wanted to. But anyways, that was kind of interesting to see. But beyond that, I just didn't see anything last year. And this year we spent more time in my wife's hometown, which is a much smaller town. And we did not see any video game stores there. Just looking around. We actually asked one of her friends there, it's hey, does anyone sell video games in this town? And he's like, I think there might be one guy on the corner of the street. And so we went to this shop, and I'll try to show you a little video right now of what we saw there. Basically, I think he ran a TV repair shop mostly, but kind of as an attraction to get people to come in or notice this shop, I guess, he had a bunch of, what do you call them? Basically pirated PS2 games he was selling. And, you see all his little signs there that he's copied up, he's copied pictures of the cases basically. And then what you do is you look through his folders of games that he's got, and you can select a game for him to copy for you. Now, I do not have a modded PS2, but I do still have this modded PS1 here. So I found out that he was also selling PS1 games. And I said, I can have you burn some for me and get those. Now, he was selling modded consoles himself, and I think he was selling a modded PS2 for $70. I'm I don't really need a modded PS2. I can't really imagine myself burning, more PS2 games in the future. So I passed on that, but I did get a little stack of copied PS1 games here. And I did buy 20 of them. I went through all his folders and I selected all the ones I wanted. And he actually had a lot of good games there. Some of the more expensive titles that I've never bought just because they, were a little bit more than I wanted to spend on them. But I got some cool titles here. Unfortunately, some of them didn't work, so I bought 20 of them. I came back here, even though I tested him on his thing before I bought him. For whatever reason, they just didn't work on my modded PS1 here. And the only thing I can really think of is maybe he's running like some kind of different chip that takes like some kind of other format of copies. Because I mean, this thing, I can play anything on here. I can play Japanese games. I can play. I've never had a problem playing a copy game before. As long as it's just a straight copy. So I think maybe he's using some kind of weird program to copy that didn't make just like a complete copy. It's like some kind of weird thing going on. But anyway, 5 of them didn't work, but I will show you the ones I do get. Now I already tested these and just to make sure they work, and then I wrote down the English name on the disc so I can read them and then know which one I'm getting into. Because I don't know what Huangjia 3 would be, but I did find out it was Fighting Force 2. And we got Harvest Moon, Back to Nature, that wouldn't work. And we got In the Hunt, which I have never played before. I did get this one to work, luckily. That's a pricey game if you're getting a real copy for it. And these I got, these are all collections of NES games, and each one of these discs is, I think it's got like 200 games on it, or maybe 160 games, but they're all different, so I thought that was kind of cool. I can play NES games on my PlayStation now. What else I get? I got a copy of Monkey Magic. I got a copy of Crisis Beat, which is, I think it's just a Japanese game, but it's kind of like an action game, so I thought I'd pick it up and try it out. I got Soul of the Samurai. This was a game I was thinking about getting like a year ago, I remember, and I just never got it, but now I have it. And I got a copy of Destrega. Now, unfortunately, even though these work, some of these had a problem with the sound, I found out, unfortunately, and this was one of them. You get into gameplay and you want to hear some rockin' PS1 tunes, but the music just kind of cuts out, and all you hear is like the sound effects, unfortunately. So I don't know why that was happening. Maybe, like I said, the guy's just using some other kind of program to copy these, and they don't translate very well to my chip, PS1. I got a copy of Street Fighter EX2 Plus. This one is like the 3D, I think it was the first 3D Street Fighter they made. And this one, same thing happened with the sound. It's just no sound when you're fighting, just like laying sound effects and stuff. So I was kind of disappointed about that. But at least it works enough where I can try it, I guess. Same with G Darius. No music, unfortunately. All you hear is that when you're playing the shooter, So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed. But actually, at G Darius, it's very common like on other systems too. I think I've got it on like my arcade set compilation, something like that. And I got an English version of Front Mission 3. Very cool. This one works. And I got an English version of Brigadine, which I think this one's over like $100 too if you want to buy an actual copy. And I saw some other cool like role-playing games that he had there. I forget what it was called, like the Langris or something or other. And unfortunately, he only had the Japanese untranslated versions of those, so I passed on those. And the last one I got was a copy of Blasto. So I got some cool little titles here. And I mean, obviously, if I really wanted to, I could just get online probably and download these games and make copies of them. Or, even put them on my new little PS1 Classic thingy I got. But I figured, I wanted to give this guy some business. He's the only guy in town selling these games. So I paid him, I think, the equivalent of like $13 for all these. And maybe he'll get more people interested in gaming in the future. I don't know. He did have like some PS3 games for sale, and they weren't copies. I'm sure it's a lot harder to pirate PS3 games than PS2 and PS1. But they look really gross. Like, they're totally sun-faded from sitting there too long. I'm like, no, I'll pass on those, man. Thank you. So, yeah, we looked around for some other game stores, too, because after I found these, I'm like, oh, who else can I buy some pirated games for? And, or who else can I buy some pirated games from? And we looked around, but, honestly, there are people that game like on PS4s and stuff there, but they're all in these like little arcade places. And you'll go into this little shop and they'll have like several couches lined up, and people are kind of playing PS4 on their TVs and stuff they have all set up for them. But no one's actually selling games for the customers, as far as I could tell. They're just kind of like businesses where you can go play the PS4 games if you want. So that was pretty much all we found in Vietnam in terms of gaming. I think, like I said before, people are just cell phone gaming if they are gaming mostly. Oh, but no, I did ask the guy that was making these. I said, I'm curious, are Vietnamese interested in gaming? I mean, do you have a lot of people coming and buy these? And I don't know if my wife translated my question to him very well, but he's like, oh yeah, people are buying it and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe everyone's got modded PlayStations. Who knows? Anyways, so that's pretty much all I got to tell you about my Vietnam game hunting. So now I'll tell you about what we did in Japan this time. Now, the thing I really hate about going to Vietnam is just getting there and getting back. The plane flights are just brutal. Because you can't just book a flight to Vietnam. You have to go, especially for me here in Arizona, I have to go to either LA or San Francisco first. Layover, of course. Then I go to either like Korea or Japan. Last year we went to Korea. This year we transferred through Japan. And then we fly from there to Vietnam finally. So the whole trip, even if you get like good layovers and stuff, you're traveling for over 20 hours. It's just brutal. Let's say you don't have any layovers. Just flying is like 20 hours, I think. It's crazy. So I hate it. And this year was actually worse getting there. We flew to San Francisco first, and then we went to Japan after that. As soon as we're getting into Japan, we're supposed to fly into Narita Airport, which is right next to Tokyo. And we were just going to have like an hour layover there or something before we flew off to Vietnam. But what happened was there was a thunderstorm going over the airport, and we were getting tossed around like crazy. I'd never been in a plane like this where it was getting abused by a storm so much. And we were flying along and it's shaking. All of a sudden the plane just like drops. And people were screaming behind us. Like I was a little nervous too. I'm like, what is going on here? But we're just caught in the storm. And eventually we got out of it finally, but we couldn't land in Narita. We had to go to Nagoya Airport, which was, I don't know, maybe like an hour away from Narita. So we landed there, and by this time it was like super late at night. We totally missed our connecting flight. Luckily, the airport and the airline were kind of set up for this kind of thing. And we had to wait in line for hours before they processed everyone. But we eventually got up to the front of the line, and they said, okay, where are we going, what airline and everything. And they rebooked us for flying out of Nagoya the next day, and they said, okay, here's 300 or 3,000 yen, or no, maybe it was 30,000 yen. Anyway, it was the equivalent of like $300, and they said, okay, you just got a hotel. And we were just like obliterated, tired at that point. I hadn't slept on the plane at all. My wife's about to go crazy just from. I'm about to go crazy too. We're so tired, and we had to find a hotel there. So, luckily though, the people were. The airport there was amazing. We just went up to like the information counter, and they got these super cute girls that are welcoming you. And so we need a hotel. What can you help us? And luckily she spoke English. She didn't speak English like perfectly, but pretty well. And she was like, the girls are very polite and completely different than other airports I've run into. But she's calling up hotels for us, asking if they have any room. And luckily, I thought we were going to have to take a taxi, like a half hour out to get a hotel or something. In this Nagoya airport, they have hotels directly there at the airport. So we just kind of wheeled our baggage and stuff over to this Sheraton that was like the last one available. And we were able to just sleep there for the night. And funny story, we were able to eat at the hotel before we went to bed. And they had these burgers there. What kind of beef is it called? It's like that famous Japanese beef. I forget. It's not Wagyu beef. It's like something else. But I got this hamburger, right? And I wasn't expecting it to be that great. You don't think of Japan for hamburgers, but I got this cheeseburger. It was the most delicious hamburger I've ever had. It was like drowned in like this kind of like fondue sauce almost. It was very tasty and tender. And then that was a little side story. we slept there, which was actually probably good because we needed rest. We weren't really we weren't ready for another flight right away. And the next day we flew to Vietnam finally. But the man, this has been a long tangent. Actually, I was trying to tell you about game hunting. So yeah, we finally got to Vietnam. We came back. We already had this kind of planned on our way back. We were going to fly into Narita Airport, and my wife kind of planned for us to have a layover there where we could actually go into Tokyo and spend some time there. Now I think she planned like from the time we got into the airport to the time that we were going to fly out of there, it was going to be like 10 hours. So we're like, okay, that's enough time to go see stuff, right? And one thing I knew I was welcome into Japan when we get into the airport. Almost the first thing you see is like they have a Nintendo sign there with Mario saying "Welcome to Japan" or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be my kind of place. So we got into the airport and we were kind of dirty from traveling and stuff. But we found like a locker that could hold all our bags and whatnot, because we had to get our bags out of like checking and then give them back to the airport basically to put on the plane to the US. And then we found some lockers, ditched our stuff there, and then we took the bullet train to Tokyo from the airport there. And it's expensive to take this thing, but I think it's called the Skyliner. And it's like twice as fast as just taking the normal train, so we had to take that. And it cost us $100 to go there and back for both me and my wife. But all this stuff is taking time, and we were kind of trying to hurry to get in there. And a while back, I had seen a Metal Jesus Rocks video about him going to Japan with his little crew he's got, and they went to the Akihabara district. I was okay, we'll go check out that place while we're here. So I found all the little train routes and stuff to get there, and after some doing, we did it. We had to transfer like twice just to get into this place. But when we got there, it was pretty cool to see. I mean, this whole district there in Tokyo is basically set up for just like electronic stores and video game stores and manga stores, anime stores, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is super cool. So we're looking around, and at this point we only had about 2.5 or 3 hours to do our stuff. So we got some ramen there, which is okay, nothing special. And I remember the stores that Metal Jesus had visited, so I looked them up and I made like screen captures of the maps before we left, because my phone doesn't work just walking around. I had to use the Wi-Fi before we got there. And so I kind of knew like where we were supposed to go, but we wandered around, and I found the soft map store? Soft map? Something like that. I'll show you in the video. And this was a store that Metal Jesus went to, and we poked around. It's got like 5 stories of stuff you can look at. And once again, though, I'm kind of looking at stuff, and I'm not really seeing anything that I want to buy there. They have a lot of Japanese titles, a lot of like collector sets that I thought were very interesting. But they're Japanese versions. I can't read these things, so I'm never gonna buy. I'm never gonna play them, even if I buy them. So there's no point. And I'm kind of looking at everything else though too, and I'm just noticing that everything there is very expensive. And I do a lot of eBay shopping for Japanese titles, and I've got a little collection of stuff that I've found. And going to this place, I thought I'd be finding some good deals and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get all these cheap games. No, I'm seeing like basically the same stuff I see on eBay, but just more expensive. So, I mean, it was really cool to see the place, and they have all kinds of little knickknacks and trinkets and stuff you can buy there too. And the whole place has got like, the whole Akihabara district's got like gaming stuff everywhere and anime stuff everywhere. And even my wife's like looking all around, she's like, wow, this is so cool. Everything's so colorful and everything there. And so I didn't buy anything at this soft map store. And then there was another store called Super Potato that Metal Jesus kind of showed off in his video. And I kind of had like a general area on my little map that I took of this, but I couldn't find it. I'm looking around and I don't see anything called Super Potato. And luckily, there were these maid cafes around, and they've got these girls hanging around outside kind of trying to bring people into the maid cafe, and they're all dressed up like little maids, super cute. And I asked one of them, I said, I'm looking for this Super Potato. And she can speak English a little bit, and she just breaks out her cell phone, and she's like, oh, Super Potato. And she finds it on her phone for me, and she shows me where to go. And I kind of walk down, and the reason I didn't see this place is because they don't have an English sign. And the only way I knew what it was they had like this stupid cartoon picture of a potato on their sides. I'm like, okay, that must be it. So we went up to the Super Potato store, and this was supposed to be like the awesome, super cool, like amazing store, right? And so we got up there, and they did have a lot of like retro stuff, which I thought was really cool. We saw like all the old consoles, Dreamcast, Super Nintendo, Genesis, obviously. They had like a lot of Famicom stuff, which I don't do Famicom, but it was cool to see that stuff there. And they had Neo Geo stuff and TurboGrafx CD stuff, all this kind of stuff that probably, if you were really like hard up to buy a game and you were having trouble finding it, it would probably be a pretty good place for you. But once again, I'm looking at these things, and you got like a Super Nintendo game, Super Metroid in the box is like over $100 there. And I'm just like, what the hell? And what I think was going on with this whole place, I don't think it was really set up for the people that live in Tokyo. I think it's kind of just a tourist trap, and I think that's why everything was so pricey. And all the like restaurants and stuff there seemed like it was totally catering to tourists. Unfortunately, though, I was trying to get more videos and stuff for you guys, but a lot of places had signs up saying, tourists, please don't take videos of us. That a lot of Japanese don't like being filmed or photographed. I'm like, oh man. So I'm kind of a little nervous just taking videos and stuff as we go around. But I got a few to show you guys here anyway. And we checked out these places, and it was cool to see, but I just didn't want to buy anything. I didn't see anything that really grabbed me and it's like, okay, I gotta have this, and I'm gonna pay $100 or $50, whatever, for the Super Nintendo game. Basically, like, if I really wanted something like that, I could probably just find it online here. But definitely very cool to see. And we finally got back to our airport on time and got out of Japan. And after that, it was all smooth sailing. But man, Toro Buddy, dude, if you ever go to Japan, dude, you gotta see you gotta see all this stuff. It's awesome. And the Japanese girls are super cute. Definitely gotta find your geisha if you're still looking for that. So I definitely recommend just checking the stuff out. I could have spent all day there, actually. If we had more time, man, I would have spent at least a weekend there just poking around all the stores and looking at everything. And who knows, maybe I would have found something a little better if we weren't pressed for time so much. I kind of had to go into these stores and kind of rush through them as best I could so we could, move on to the next one. But yeah, it's very cool, and it's actually a good place for women too. I mean, if your girl's into anything like anime or video games at all, like my wife's not interested really in either that much, but she had a blast just looking at everything, and she's looking around trying to find a little souvenir too. She's looking at the little statuettes and stuff they have, and all the various like Final Fantasy gear they got for sale. So yeah, I mean, it was cool to see, and someday I'd definitely like to go back to Japan and have a little more time there and just check it out and see all the weird cafes, like the Cat Cafe, where I think you go and just hang out with cats at this cafe while you eat or drink or something. Probably my mom's cup of tea more than mine. Yeah, that's definitely something my mom would like. Anyways, guys, that's it for my game hunting trip, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.